You are listening to Japan Experts, the podcast that helps you plan, book, and enjoy an effortless and immersive journey to Japan. Excited to visit Japan but overwhelmed by endless options, confusing transport, or language barriers? I get it. I'm Miyuki Seguchi, licensed guide and your cultural bridge to Japan. I've helped countless travelers turn their Japan dreams into seamless and unforgettable adventures, and I'll help you do the same. In every episode, you'll discover local tips, expert knowledge, and first-hand insights to plan with peace, travel confidently, and create lifelong memories in Japan. Ready to do this, Cassie? Let's dive in! Today, I'm excited to introduce Tori, one of my clients who has become a friend. She visits Japan with her family, including her husband and their 2-year-old baby, for a month-long trip. In this episode of the Japan Experts podcast, you'll learn how they planned their trip, the highlights of their journey, and more importantly, she's here to share all the do's and the mindset to make your Japan travel experience truly fulfilling. Tori is also very thoughtful about everything she saw and experienced in Japan, and she'll share key takeaways from her trip, including tips on traveling with a 2-year-old. My program has evolved since we worked together, but the heart of how I support my clients remains the same. You'll hear plenty of thoughtful insights and practical travel guidance throughout this conversation. So, without further ado, let's welcome Tori. You had a month-long trip in Japan. How would you describe your overall experience?
Oh, it was so wonderful. I was just blown away by how wonderful Japan was. I had wanted to go my whole life, and so I had done a lot of research and a lot of planning, and when I got there, everything was just more than I could have asked for. It was just wonderful. My family came with me. We went together, for 26 days, which was a really long time, especially with a 2-year-old, but we all got something out of it, and I think we all came back better people. We grew, we learned, we just took up everything that we could out of Japan and brought it home, and I just couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity to spend time in your beautiful country and to have all the experiences that I had.
Love your comments. So, looking back before your trip, what was your motivation to visit Japan initially, and what was your challenge in regards to planning your trip?
Yes, I wanted to go to Japan for a very long time. I think in the last 7 years, I thought this is possible. I could maybe do this. And then I got the passport and I started doing some research and stuff like that. And probably the last 2 years was I am all over Facebook and Instagram and Google Maps and really trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this. And I just was digging in, and it seemed like the more information that I got, which there's a plethora of, the more overwhelmed I felt. And I knew I wanted to go, and I knew I was going to bring my family, and I was a little nervous about bringing the little one, but I thought, okay, we're going to make this work. And I'm going to start up in Hokkaido. I got a month. I'm going to start up in Hokkaido. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of Kyushu, and I'm going to see all these things. And they say, go to Google Maps and pick all the places you want to go. And there were red dots everywhere. And that's supposed to help you somehow, but it didn't, because there were just red dots everywhere. And I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do all this in time. And I was just so overwhelmed. And then I met you and you helped me so much by telling me to pick my priorities and not the destinations. And by doing that, I was able to come up with a plan with you to see all the things that I want to see. And I honestly have no regrets. There's nothing I was like, oh, I wish I would have done that, or I didn't do that. I feel so fulfilled. Every day I was tired at the end of the day, but I wasn't exhausted. I didn't miss anything. It was so perfectly done. So I think out of all the places in the world, I have met a lot of people. I'm in the service industry. I live in a hot tourism spot in Hawaii, so I've met lots of people, and I love the Japanese people. So that was my biggest draw to coming to Japan was I wanted to go where they were because they were awesome people, and I really were interested in them. And they have gorgeous, beautiful country, and that's why I picked Japan.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful, wonderful. If you don't mind, like, could you like walk us through the how you planned your trip? What was your travel planning journey like, and what did you like the most about?
Yeah. But like I said, I was so overwhelmed with all the choices and everything. I had a lot of good ideas, but trying to figure out even where to begin to put them into an itinerary was just it was it was more than I could take. So getting to work with you and having you like help me organize, like for instance, I wanted to see a lake. I really wanted to see Mount Fuji. I wanted to see autumn colors because I haven't seen autumn in Hawaii. We don't have autumn. And I wanted to do some sort of a theme park, but not like Disneyland, but something else. And so you suggested going to Lake Kawaguchiko, and all of those things were there. So I'm like, okay, there we go. That makes sense. I go there, I spend time there, and I get to do all of these things that I wanted to do. You gave me so many good suggestions, and you were very honest. You didn't try to like steer me into doing things that you wanted me to do. You really genuinely listened to what I wanted to do and experience with my family with no judgment. And I really appreciate that because I got to have the experiences that I wanted to have by that. And you were able to say this is too much. You're not going to be able to do all that in one day, and but still be like, you can put it down and make your choice when you're there. And I did, and I went, yep, that could only do the things she said I could do that day. But I was able to really like be confident in creating the itinerary that it wasn't going to be too much in one day, but I was going to be able to do everything I wanted to do. And it took away a lot of stress, and I was really excited about it. And in practice, when I actually did it, I'm like, yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what I needed. Because, having a 2-year old, you can't do a bunch of things in one day. You're gonna, exhaust everybody. And I had to leave room for like him going to the park or, running around, or for us to inevitably end up sleeping in and all of these things. And you left room for those things. And I think you were really able to adapt to our family's travel style. Super organized and everything, which was good because I needed that boost in the direction, but also we're able to give enough flexibility to just walk through the city and get a feel for it and things like that. So that was amazing, and you did a great job with that. And then the actual course itself was really helpful every week, like listening in and being like, okay, this is what I'm going to learn about how to stay and where to plan. So I'm booking hotels. These are recommendations for hotels, or these are different recommendations for how to use transport. I live on an island. We don't have public transportation. So that was huge and a little overwhelming when I got there. But I remember with the things you told me, and, just getting out there and trying. That's part about one of the things about Japan that's awesome is you try new things, and it's a little bit scary and it's fun, but you learn and you grow, and it's just part of the whole travel experience. But having somebody there like you to help me do that, this was my first big trip. Like, I have never gone anywhere internationally. I've only been in 3 states in my life. And, here I'm taking my family, and they've never been either. We're going for not just a week or 2, we're going for a month. And people told me I was crazy for doing that. And I'm like, no, if I do it right, it's going to be okay. And it was. And it was, thanks to the course, like, it was totally worth it. It was an investment in having a wonderful trip. And yeah, totally
Thank
do it.
you. Thank you. Yes, I wanted to provide a bit of the knowledge to help people prepare for the trip. And that's something like I wanted to deliver. So I really appreciate you find the value in there.
Yeah, for sure. I cannot say that having done it and been there that I'm like, damn, I wish I would have learned about this, or I would have done this to prepare. Like, I felt ready, and yeah, totally wouldn't have been without you. It's
Yes.
definitely different information that you would find on YouTube or Facebook or whatever like that. Like, hearing it from you firsthand as a local was great information.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, because I know you've done a lot of like research beforehand and
Yes.
throughout the travel planning journey. So I can really trust your word. Yeah, so I tried to discuss a little bit about the like private tours as well because I know that was part of the your trip that you enjoyed. So we spent 2 days together. I was really glad to have that time, like spend 2 days with you. Tell us your like favorite part of the tours.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was really cool. Like it was about halfway through our journey. So having done some exploring on our own and then getting to meet you and being like, somebody else is in charge. I don't have to worry about where to go now. Yay! So that was nice. Um, the area itself was really cool. It was culture day, so we got to experience, watching the sword masters making the swords. We got to hold and talk about and see and appreciate authentic, beautiful Japanese swords and katana that are ancient and old and normally behind glass. We got to try on armor that was handmade and beautiful and get to know like how they moved in it and different ways they use the weapons and stuff. And all of those things were just so cool. And talking to the artisans and stuff like that were just really awesome because all of my family is interested in samurai culture and history. So being able to like be a samurai for a day was really cool. And we got to do arts and crafts and all kinds of stuff. And I think also beyond just the really neat experiences, I just felt kind of a sense of belonging. And I know that's kind of weird to say as a foreigner to Japan. It was obviously a very foreign looking people, but and maybe a lot of that had to do with being with you as well, but I just felt so relaxed and so at peace, just being, we're surrounded by locals. I think I saw one other tourist the whole day that I was there, and we were all just experiencing these things together and learning about Japanese culture and stuff together, and it was just such a cool feeling to just be with locals and relaxed and like I don't know, that feeling's indescribable and it's something that will stay with me for a really long time.
Yeah, great, wonderful comment. Thank you. Yeah, so it was kind of like local festival day, but it's
Yes.
not as known as other major festivals or anything. So it's
Hmm.
just like a festival that's held in the like community. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed that and you felt that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I would have never have found it without you. Like even after you told me about it, I went and I looked on the internet. And I was trying to find the information because I was excited about it, and I couldn't find nothing, even trying to find it. So yes, Yuki will
Yes.
help you find fun things.
Thank you. Thank you.
But honestly, just I loved how informative you were, but it wasn't just information, it was so much interaction. Like you wouldn't just tell us something, you'd be like, so what do you think? Look at this castle. What do you think is different about it? Or do you notice something interesting about it? Like you asked us questions. So it wasn't just me, but my family were all involved and thinking and it got us to think about deeper questions and to think more about like the history and to fall in love with the people and stuff that live there that we would have maybe read about, but then all of a sudden we're interested in and had an investment in because we heard about them and stuff. I mean, we could have certainly gone there and took a look around on our own, but we wouldn't have had not only the knowledge, but just the feeling that you get from like having somebody share personal stories and share stories of history that you just wouldn't have gotten on your own and all the details that you would have seen and I mean like all the stuff in the castle like Hakone is beautiful and not just the tower itself but the whole area like the multiple moats and the garden was just oh so serene and beautiful and it was raining that day but I think it kind of added to the beauty just that serenity and having the tea and the garden and having you I mean you helped us with the 2 year old when we were doing the arts and crafts. Okay, we wouldn't have been able to do some of the things without you there. And you did that out of the kindness of your own heart. You weren't saying, "Hey, I'll be your babysitter" or nothing like you, but you were there with us and engaged with him, and he loved you. I mean, everybody loved you. We got to learn things and see things, and you took pictures of us and videos and things. We didn't have to worry about that per day. It was really great. And even just you were very improv. Like we were gonna go see the Sacred Island and the boat wasn't going out, but you immediately pivoted to something else that you knew we were interested in because we'd had so many conversations before. So we were able to see the potter in his house and sit down and I got to try making some stuff, some pottery, and my son was playing with the clay and making little cats and bunnies, and we got to talk to him and stuff. And it just, I don't know, these are not things that you can just be like, I'm going to plan a tour and I'm going to go and see these things, and someone's going to take me to point A, point B, point C, and all of that. It's like these are things that were the special things that stuck out to me were the things that you couldn't plan for. To be honest, like even to the moments of, oh man, these pasta cutters were great for my kid. I had no idea that these pasta cutters existed. It was so much easier to feed him. And you're like, oh, well, here's the store. It's really close. Let me take you up and help you find them so you can have them yourself. Like, who does that? So, I mean, even something as simple and small as that, made a big difference to family. It showed that you cared. And, it's those feelings that you take back with you that stick with you more so than just the beauty and everything. So yeah, that to me what stuck out the most about the tour is just being able to share the experience with you, and then also having Japan come to life in a very interactive, thoughtful, meaningful way.
Thank you. That kind of makes me cry. Like I really like,
Oh,
yes, thank you. I don't know what to say, but thank
oh,
you.
I'm totally serious though. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast. I really, really was blown away, and you were a wonderful example of how wonderful Japanese people can be, and you definitely went out of your way to make it special for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, one other aspect I wanted to hear your thought was interaction with other locals, because
Yeah.
that's the part of the things that I try to deliver as part of my tours. So how did you enjoy that? Like compared to like just like exploring on your own, you thought you have achieved more as part of the tours?
Yes, for sure. Like I said, it was about halfway through the trip. So I had, had a few interactions here and there. I tried to learn some Japanese. I had some, basic phrases and stuff enough to, get by and to show that I'm interested and I want to interact. But my family certainly didn't know Japanese, and, tried to learn a few things here and there. But I think especially for them, being able to hear and interact and have conversations, like asking questions like from the artisans and how they did it and stuff, it felt really cool. Like I think what comes to the surface as an example is talking to the potter, and we just ended up eventually starting to have conversations, just interesting conversations. He asked, so do you have a lot of potters in Hawaii? Like, oh well, not too much, or in America, do people, carry on traditions, because like we saw swordsmiths who've been doing this for 26 generations. And I'm thinking like, well, no, not really. We have people who like, if you're interested, you go and study, and there's a few families that pass it on, but that's kind of a dying thing and it's not really known and stuff. And he's like, huh, well, I think that's a good thing, to want to do what you want to do instead of have to do it if your family does it. And so it was kind of cool just to like have this back and forth conversation. It wasn't just me asking, it was also him asking, and like we're learning about each other and culture and things. And that was really cool. And you can't do that with just a few conversational pieces of Japanese. Or, I mean, they learn some English, obviously they can speak some, and you can use Google Translate and things like that. But there was just something about taking the time and having the time and knowing that someone's there to help bridge the gap for you, where you could just relax and have a conversation, and wouldn't have been able to do that on my own. And like I said, I just had the sense of belonging and just being able to talk to people as you sit down, you're having something to eat and you smile over and you talk to them, or my kids playing with their kid, or it just was really cool. And we didn't get that at the rest of the trip either. We were able to have special moments here and there, but they were just surface level. And
Good.
so being able to dig in was really good.
I'm so glad that you found it that way, because yes, that's all about experiences, not just like visiting the typical destination, that sort of like
Yeah.
trips. So yes, thank you. Before we wrap up, I have two more questions.
Okay.
So what would you say are your key takeaways from your trip?
Oh, so many things, so many things. The key takeaways, I think, was that having a balance was really important. Like I am grateful that I spent some time in Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka and Hiroshima. Like originally I was going to be like, do I even have to go to these places? Let's just skip them. I'll just go to these other country places and, why go to these, famous places? But in all, I'm glad that I did see them because they do bring a lot to the table and they're beautiful sights and famous for a reason. And it was really cool to see them. And I think it was even cooler to see them because I had so few encounters with large crowds throughout my trip that when I ended up having large encounters with crowds, I wasn't overwhelmed because it was like, oh, here's an experience. As opposed to having my whole trip be that where I would have been exhausted and overwhelmed. I think I tend to like smaller country like settings. So, it was like, whoa, huge city. Wow, I accidentally wandered onto Shibuya Crossing. That wasn't in my plans, but here I am. Wow. And you found these things. So having that was really, really nice. But then also having such a good balance of off the beaten path, country, rural areas. Like we tried to stay in places that were not like in the heart of the city, but nearby so that we could kind of experience what it might be like to live there and, just be amongst locals and come in. Like we got to see so much. And believe me, I put my itinerary and ideas on, Facebook forums and stuff, people to rate it. And they're like, you're crazy. You're moving too much. You're doing too much. You're going too many places and stuff. And looking back, I'm like, no, I did just exactly what I wanted to do. And it was just fine. I am so glad that I did because I got to see sides of Japan that I never would have seen. And I think just giving yourself lots of different places to go and different experiences is a really good way to do it because then you just have a variety of experiences. So that's one of my key takeaways. And people were so nice and so friendly and so kind. And it was really neat to experience the regional differences. Every place we went had a different feel of the city or the country, the way that people were, the way that the town was presented, just like all the little details. And it was really neat. So being able to see different regions, I think, and also spending enough time in the region to notice the differences as opposed to just spending a half a day there was really helpful and interesting. I just noticed like being in Tokyo, how people were, and in the more popular areas, like people were still like very polite, very kind, like no problems or anything. But they also just kind of were like, I got life to live. I'm busy. I'm going to be polite to you and I'm going to do the things that I need to do. I'm grateful for having you, yada, yada. But the difference when I was in the rural areas was like, oh, welcome. They were interested. They were curious. They wanted to like interact. And it was just a completely different experience. And I'm so glad that I did it. I'm so glad. The more that you can, research and know about the place that you're going, the more depth you're going to get out of it. So, but I would figure out your priorities, what you want to do first, and then pick out where you're going to go, then do research on those spots. Otherwise, you're just going to be constantly, you could spend your entire life preparing for a trip otherwise. So, yeah, I guess those will be my key takeaways because otherwise I'll keep talking.
Amazing. I think like you mentioned having a balance is a really the great point. Like earlier you mentioned like you initially thought about visiting like starting from Hokkaido and down to the
Yeah.
like the South Island. That's I think like very typical things that like international business first thought about. And
Mm.
but I think like the key to the a great experience, like amazing experience like you had in Japan was just like you really like focused on the regions that you visited. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily like trying to cover all the regions, right? But you just like really like prioritize what you really wanted to do and find a place based on your priorities. And instead of like trying to like visit all the places, like traveling a long distance. I think that was a really key.
Yeah, yeah. People ask me all the time, they're like, "Oh, where did you go in Japan?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I could tell you." And I start telling off the list, and they're like, "We don't know these places." And I'm like, "Okay, here, let me rephrase this. This is what I did in Japan. This is what I saw in Japan. You don't need to know the label of the city or the mountain or whatever that I saw. That's what you really want." And that's what I did. I'm like, "I want to see mountains. I want to see rivers. I want," and I picked. And Central Japan is amazing. It has all of these things. Like you look at the things and you're like, "Oh, I got to go here in order to see this." But no, it exists all over Japan. And I was so excited about Central Japan because it's right in there in the middle. It's right in between. We didn't have to go hours and hours and hours away to find these things. And there was a lot of differences even in, pretty close areas. So you don't have to go, like I'm sure Hokkaido and Kyushu are wonderful and I would love to visit them someday and do that, but Japan's huge and you're able to just pick an area and explore that area and still see lots of differences. So don't feel like you have to travel all the way up to the north in order to get a cool experience of a beautiful countryside shot because you're going to get some of those same feelings and experiences much closer.
Yes, thank you, thank you. That exactly the message I love to deliver also. So thank you, thank you. And previously we discussed because you have worked in the service industry and you personally also love visiting the observation track locations. And but why is it so important to visit beyond the typical tourist spots, especially for the locals and the communities in Japan also, like what's your thought on this? Like how that like impact the Japan's tourism industry also?
Well, being in a tourist destination, we have a lot of places where there are a lot of tourists, and we're happy to have them. We're grateful that they're there, and we enjoy sharing, beautiful island and beaches and things with them. And hopefully, they are also in the same grateful mindset. And being, it feels artificial if that makes sense, because you're being polite, you're dealing with people who don't know the customs, they don't know like what sacred ground they're walking on, they're not treating it with the same respect, and they can't really because they don't know. And until they either learn or they're told or have had an experience that makes them want to connect in a way that we feel about the island, for instance, they're just not going to. And if they go to places that are not, super touristy, then they can connect with people on a real level and not just that kind of artificial level that you might get just by going to all the places. So for me, I really wanted to go to places in Japan where people wouldn't be like exhausted from all the tourists. You know what I mean? Like it sounds bad to say that, but it's true. You can really experience more by being in places where people are like, "Oh, wow, welcome. Why did you come to this area? Oh, let me tell you about this area and stuff." And they're interested. They want to show you like their secret place. And you find this little place that you've never heard of before, that you would have never heard about, but you happen to be there and they show you and they're like, "Oh," and you had this moment and all these things. And you just, I can't put into right words, but being off the beaten path, it's fresh, it's refreshing. You're interacting with people who are happy that you're there. You're seeing things that haven't been seen 1,000 times. You're making your own experiences, and those are wonderful. They're priceless, and you can really feel the difference after having been at popular sites and in other places. Like you can see the difference, you can feel the difference, and that is so key. So having been on the other side of it, knowing, okay, here we are, all the tourists and everything, and being a little bit exhausted but polite, and then being able to like interact with them in other places where we actually share experiences together. I love taking tourists to little secret spots and showing them things that they've never seen and seeing it through their eyes. It's a fun, cool experience. So I think in Japan they would also love to do that too, especially with people who are respectful and kind if they're not like overwhelmed with so many of them.
Yes, I think like your words are real because you have experienced both, so you can
Yeah.
say that, right? And I
Yeah.
really appreciate like your approach. I try to learn Japanese language, Japanese customs, like etiquette and everything like before like actually visiting Japan. I think like that was really like important base, important foundation to have this sort of like immersive experience. So I think like you are like ready to gain these experiences and you've achieved that. So I'm really happy that we have made it happen. So yes, for you.
Yeah. You get what you put into things, just like all things in life. If you just go there and expect the world to be handed to you on a platter and to take a look and just grab all the things, then that's what you're going to get. But if you want to like really dig in and really have something that's going to stay with you more, it's like you don't just drive to a location and then take a look at the view and go, that was nice, and then drive off to another location because you're just going to be driving and having little moments, little memories. But you want to like enjoy the journey and see all the things. And if you really do put in the effort to study and to care, like the Japanese people are so gracious. If they show that you're just trying, that you're making an effort to care, that means the world, and they're going to meet you more than halfway. And it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to like be perfect at it, but I think just coming from the right heart and the right mindset means a huge difference. And I think that will help prepare you for a wonderful experience by being ready to learn, ready to listen, ready to take it in, and not just brush by it all.
Yeah, wonderful. Like everything you have shared with us, with listeners, are already like very insightful, like very helpful. So I really appreciate that. So any last comments, suggestions, or recommendations for the listeners who are hoping to visit Japan in the near future? Like if you want to add something more to what you have shared with us already?
Okay, I would say be flexible. It's good to have structure and make plans, and certainly as popular as Japan is, making advanced recommendations and reservations and things like that are very important. You need to be able to at least, depending on when you go and how your travel style is. If you're all completely off the seat of your pants kind of traveler, then more power to you. Just make sure you have enough time to figure it out when you get there, because you can still do it. It's just going to take more time. But even if you do have something structured, give yourself some flexibility, because sometimes the things you discover on the way you couldn't have planned for, and you want to be able to enjoy it and be there in the moment. That if for some reason you didn't wake up in time, you still have the rest of the day and lots of cool things to check out. Having that flexibility and that gratitude that no matter what you do, you're in Japan. You are in one of the most safest, beautiful, most wonderful countries in the world, and you are here experiencing it. And there's nothing really that can go wrong. Come on, it's all how you look at it. And I think having that gratitude and that flexibility will allow yourself to have a good time no matter what. So that's one of my key recommendations to anybody to travel. And then just to throw in a thing, because I know some people traveling with children, that's a overwhelming and kind of a scary thought, but you can totally do it. You just have to, well, I guess change your mindset on what a vacation is. Like I never really had a vacation before, so I don't know what people normally do. But for me, knowing my family and what we were capable of, I just made sure that we had enough time to get from point A to point B. I made sure that that he was fed and that he had lots of snacks in between. And we had a special little travel bag, and he knew this was his little backpack. And every time we got on a bus or a train or a plane or anything, this was his backpack, and he would get to play with the things in it only when we traveled. So he was excited, and he would open it up and play with all the different things. And I would wrap little presents, little toys that he'd either not seen for a really long time or new ones, just cheap things, nothing that you wouldn't be sad if you lost. And when he would get bored, then you pull out one of those and he'd be excited. Ooh, present, I just had my birthday. Yeah, I know what presents are. And he would open it up and play with it. And then we'd be excited. And then you can kind of rotate it. And that, honestly, I mean, some of the days we traveled was an 8-hour travel day just between buses and trains. And he was good the whole time. And I think just being really present with him and seeing it through his eyes. I think the harder days were when we were like, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to see, hang on, you can deal with this. But when we tried to focus on him and what he needed in order to be happy, like, oh, here's a park. And Japan is great for kids, let me say. There's so much consideration for children and parks everywhere and stuff, so he could run around and get his energy out and stuff. And then he was happy to go to the museum and be quiet while we spent hours peering over all the beautiful artifacts and stuff. So you just kind of have to have some give and take and know what they're capable of, and do the things that you want to do early, just in case they get to the point where they're really tired. And hopefully they'll take naps when they're doing the other things and stuff. So strollers are good. Having a foldable light stroller is a great thing, because not every place you can take a stroller, but when you can use it, it's very, very nice. So I would recommend that. And yeah, I think those are some key things. But your kid, and being able to share it with them, even though he'll never remember it. I got pictures and I will, and it helped kind of shape him. And I was so happy that people were so kind to us as a family, and people didn't look at us like, oh no, here comes another kid. They were interested and they were cute and they interacted. And so yeah, if you have a family, I would totally come to Japan. It's very welcoming.
Wonderful, wonderful comment. So valuable, like all the tips. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your every word. I think like it really, like your words are real because you have experienced it. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so overwhelmed. It's only been a few months since the trip, but looking back now, I'm like, this is the stuff that really mattered, the stuff that really felt, that came and stuck with me, as opposed to just like, this was a cool experience and then I forget it. But no, so much stayed with me. And I think that's the exciting thing about traveling, is being able to have these experiences and remember them fondly and go, I need to go back.
Let's craft your dream Japan trip together. Head over to Instagram at japan.experts and DM me Japan. I'll personally share expert insights and recommendations to help you plan with ease and feel confident about your trip, so you can make unforgettable lifelong memories in Japan. Not on Instagram? No worries. Join the Japan Experts community on Facebook, where I share exclusive travel tips and answer your questions, or grab one of my free Japan travel guides. All the links are in the show note. I can't wait to connect with you soon.